Hey guys, welcome to another video of learning Japanese, and today we are going to cover the particle de, and this particle was covered in another video that covered its function as a location marker. Today we're going to cover a different function of it, and that is what is called the instrument marker. And the idea of an instrument marker is kind of the means in which something is done, and it's a very extensive particle, if that makes any sense, that covers a wide range of basically actions, and we're probably going to learn best through examples, so we're just going to fly into some. So first off, we have the example sentence Nihongo de tegami o kakimashita, and we're going to break down the sentence. We have, first of all, Nihongo, which is Japanese. We have de, which is, as we know from the topic of this video, the instrument marker. And then we have the word tegami, which means letter, and then we have the direct object marker o, and then we have the verb kakimashita, and altogether it means in English, I wrote a letter in Japanese. So that's the key part at the end in the English form, in Japanese. That's the instrument marking part of the sentence, because when we ask what language did you write the letter in, you can say I wrote it in Japanese. And that might be a bit confusing, because as opposed to asking what language did you write it in, you could say something else like what tool did you use to write it in, and then in that case you could say I wrote it with a pen or a pencil or anything like that. So why did we use Japanese with de? Well, that's the thing. The title of instrument marker means that it can cover that wide a range of things. So we could have used de just as well to denote with what tool we wrote the letter in. But it just so happens that in this particular example, we're just gonna say what language it was written in. So we use de in that case. So now we'll move on to the next example, which will kind of reinforce that idea of being an instrument of a lot of things. So for our next example, we have Kuruma de Akihabara ikimashita. So what does that mean? That means I went to Akihabara by car. And which part is the instrument and which part is the instrument marker, you may ask? And of course the de is the instrument marker, so it only makes sense that the word that precedes de is the instrument itself, which is kuruma. And why is that so? It's because in the sentence the actual occurrence is the going of or to Akihabara, and we have to ask through what means or by what instrument did that occur. And it should be unsurprising that the answer to that is by car. For our last example, we're kind of gonna go back to that question asked in the first example. What if we wanted to say what something happened by means of what tool? So for our example sentence, we have Hashi de osushi o tabemashita. So let's break this sentence down bit by bit just to make sure that everything is clear cut. First off, we have the word hashi, which is the noun for chopsticks. Then we have the particle de, which is the instrument marker. Then we have osushi, which is basically the word sushi combined with the beautifier o, which is explained in another video, but that is the direct object. We have after that the direct object marker o, then we have the verb tabemashita, which is the past form of the word taberu, which means to eat. So altogether we have I ate sushi with chopsticks, or if we wanted to rearrange that structure to make it more resemblant to the Japanese form, with chopsticks I ate sushi. So we have the de and the chopsticks doing exactly what I've explained so far. The process of eating sushi, we're trying to explain by what means or what instrument that happened, and of course it's by using chopsticks, so with chopsticks or whatever you want to say it. So in this sentence we effectively explain by what tool an action is being done. In the previous ones we explained in what manner they were being done when we were saying in Japanese, kind of. Then for the one with the car, we were saying with what I guess the car is also a tool, but there's kind of an extended meaning to how useful that tool is technically, by what means of transportation basically. So lastly, with this topic, I want to cover a special case where the de is a particle marker that is kind of implied so much that it is dropped from the sentence entirely, and that is when it's being used with the verb Aruite, which means to walk. So this relates mostly to the second example we had, which is Kuruma de Akihabara ikimashita. Instead of the word kuruma, we could have used other such words such as jitensha or basu, and those would have meant I went to Akihabara by bike, or I went to Akihabara by bus instead of by car. In terms of transportation and whatnot, if we said I went to Akihabara by foot, basically is that what that means. Aruite, Akihabara ikimashita. We drop the de there because it's a special case with that verb. You can notice how the te in the aruite is kind of the replacement for de. So we don't want the sentence to sound too like redundant in its pronunciation. So maybe that's the justification behind it. I'm not too sure myself, but that's just how it is. So when you say you went somewhere by foot, we use aruite and not aruite de. That's incorrect, too repetitive. So that's that. That should cover pretty much 99.9 percent of usages with the particle de as a instrument marker. Hopefully there are a lot of cases where it's used when it doesn't mean things like transportation and tools and whatnot, like we've only covered. But again, you'll get the hang of it as you see it on and on. Just know that that's what it means in its basic form. So yeah,